What's good, everybody? Welcome to a quick video on muscle protein synthesis. Now, muscle protein synthesis is a topic that's covered a lot, but not a lot of people understand what it is and why it's important. Now, it's important because muscle protein synthesis is currently the greatest correlation that we have to muscle growth when studying things in various experiments. So, if a scientist is running an experiment on a new drug or a new training method or something like that, a measurement of muscle protein synthesis is the best indication to him or her whether or not that thing is actually conducive to muscle growth. So muscle protein synthesis is just the increase in translation or production of various muscle proteins, whether that's myofibrillar proteins or mitochondrial proteins. And it's important to note that muscle protein synthesis is occurring concurrently with muscle protein breakdown. And ultimately, if your goal is to build muscle, you want to have muscle protein synthesis occurring at a much higher rate consistently than muscle protein breakdown. Now, what do you need to do to make sure that your muscle protein synthesis is elevated? You need to either eat right or train, basically. You can obviously add in various compounds, various steroids, and things of that nature, but for this video, we're just going to get into eating and training. So you can eat in a caloric surplus, meaning that you're taking in more calories than you're burning, and this will keep muscle protein synthesis high because if you're not low on calories, your body has no reason to chop or tap into your muscle stores for energy. Whereas if you're in a deficit, then it's fair game. Furthermore, if you eat protein even in a deficit, you're also going to increase muscle protein synthesis. And that's because protein is kind of the building blocks that are utilized to create protein within the body. So the protein you eat is chopped up into amino acids, and then those amino acids in the bloodstream can be snatched up by any organ or muscle tissue to create their own proteins within their cell. When you eat protein, there's about a 3-fold increase in muscle protein synthesis and a 50% decrease in muscle protein breakdown. And you can assimilate about 20 grams every 2 to 3 hours. So it's up to you to kind of decide how you want to space your protein out in the day. Furthermore, training has a very similar effect on muscle protein synthesis versus breakdown. And it's important to know that there are certain parameters that you have to hit for training to be effective in this manner. And that's the literature has shown you should train each body part 10 sets per week minimum, train to failure in any rep range, at least 2 times a week. And your rest period should be at least 2 minutes in between each set. And that's because if you don't rest at least 2 minutes, oftentimes you're unable to reach failure on your next set. So it's also important to know that eating and training, if you do both of them in the same time period, have a very synergistic effect. So you get that increase in muscle protein synthesis and decrease in muscle protein breakdown. However, instead of that 2 to 3 hour window, you now have a 24 to 72 hour anabolic window where your muscle is just like a sponge that sucks up any amino acids that come its way. Obviously, it's important to constantly be training and also be, monitoring your protein intake and your caloric surplus versus deficit. The last thing I wanted to talk about is just the idea that a lot of studies suggest that the more advanced of a lifter you are, the shorter the anabolic window. So, if you're really lifting heavy weights in the gym, you've been in the gym for a long time, oftentimes your window will be closer to 24 or even less than that hours as opposed to 72. Which kind of makes sense if you think about it. Who in the gym is constantly making gains regardless of what they do and what they eat? Beginners. Whereas, the advanced guys really have to have every part of their diet and training dialed in. And I've definitely seen this in my own training. I was doing a push-pull legs for a while, but I've found that training full body every other day, with less volume, but training more times a week, I've gotten a lot better results. So thank you for watching. If you guys have any input, leave a comment below and have a good rest of your day.